is sensational for Cincinnati. Mitch Hildebrand, the hero, and the underdogs have prevailed once again.
I would like to present the USL Regular Season Championship to FC Cincinnati. Congratulations to the players, the staff, and most importantly, the fans on a record-breaking season. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your regular season champions, FC Cincinnati.
In a foot race, Cincinnati plays this across. Vasquez with the finish. Brandon Vasquez gives Cincinnati the 2-1 lead. A late breakdown by Red Bull.
Well, Dylan Nealis gets beaten, and nobody covers the streaking run. Unbelievable.
L'Oreal got under that. Oh! What a goal for FC Cincinnati! You couldn't dream that any better. Goal of the tournament. Maybe the history of the tournament. Alvaro Barreal makes it 2-0.
They have done it. Cincinnati, your 2023 Supporters Shield winners. A first trophy in their MLS era, and now they celebrate. Top of the Supporters Shield race since May. They never look back. And now a piece of silverware to show for it.
They've gone for the long-range efforts. My word! That is spectacular! That is a goal to savour for a lifetime! An I was there type goal! Look at Orishano with an iconic strike at TQL Stadium.
CF Montreal just go to sleep when the ball goes. His whistle dead, and Orishano.
The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an academy player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club. You play for the club. I'm here for the fans.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. What's going on, guys?
Welcome back, everyone. Another live edition of the Flying Lion podcast here, talking a little bit about FC Cincinnati's preseason. We have another match. We played a Houston Dynamo this past week to a draw. We got some more roster news. We're going to tell you all about it tonight. Sam, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good. There's been a lot of random just FC Cincinnati news. Once again, like, you know, the last episode, we go, hey, you know, we thought this was going to be a normal preseason. And then we get the Denkey news, right? And then we get some more news, you know, as we, you know, go on through the week. But, you know, nothing's normal. It never is. That's the MLS for you. That's soccer, right? Especially during those, you know, transfer windows, whether it be January or you know, the summer window. It's everything's on, right? And I think somebody said, yeah, this is how we know we're still in silly season, right? Is all these, you know, rumors true, false, whatever they are. But we're here to hopefully give a little bit of context and, you know, our thoughts mainly.
Yeah. Some of our thoughts, some of what we actually heard from people around the league too. But 16 days until the opener now. I think FC Cincinnati posted earlier a photo of teenage Hidebe. He was 16 last year. I think that was, you know, nod to say, hey, 16 days, but he's now number 15 for the team, if they didn't know that already. I'm sure they do. But preseason match number 2, we'll roll into this, give you guys a little recap of it. We'll give you, again, some roster news, second part of the episode. Break down a new partnership FC Cincinnati has with a global iconic soccer club in FC Porto. So we'll kind of go over what that means as well. But Sam, let's go through this preseason match here. Once again, appreciate the live blog from Carter Chapley, giving us, you know, the play-by-play as much as he can. You know, I'm sure that's tough to do exactly every single play, but the big ones at least. But lineup-wise, we had some changes from the previous match. What did you see this time?
Yeah, like you said, a little bit of a rotation, from last preseason game as far as the first squad goes, and you see Giddy out there, Barlow, Flores, and Chirilla. So a little bit of a rotation in all the different positions there, up top, midfield, back line. But Ryan, we're still without Matt Miazga out there. I know they were saying that he would be reintegrated into the squad as far as training, so it doesn't seem like he's quite like match fit yet, or at least preseason match fit, to give a couple minutes there. And then I believe it was the post game that Pat was talking about Jabbari here. I think Laurel had asked him like, hey, where's Jabbari on this? And come to find out, he took a knock and they didn't want to, rush him back. So didn't see him out there. And then once again, you saw the video. Teenage Hidebe is back with the squad finally, getting just reintegrated. Once again, he kind of had a little bit of injury coming off AFCON, as well as some personal stuff. And so nice to see that he's back. Hopefully, Ryan, he gets reintegrated a lot quicker than I'm sure he would hope, but we need him here in the next couple of weeks, because that Champions Cup is right around the corner.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's literally like we said, matter of weeks away, and we have two of our center backs that still haven't seen any live game action. Lineup wise, specifically the ones that had rotated was Giddy comes in. They wanted to see what he looked with. Obi Barlow comes in for Jabbari, like Sam mentions, and then we see Flores and Andre Chirilla, not Stefan Chirilla, but Andre Chirilla, in the back line next to Miles Robinson there. So that was the little bit of the change that we saw. It seemed like Andre, held his own from what we heard. Pat said there were some growing moments for him, but they wanted to see him next to Miles. Same thing with Flores. I think we'll touch on a little bit about what Pat thought about, Flores' performance in this. But as it kind of looked like at the early parts of this match, we conceded some early pressure from Houston, probably trying to, figure out how we want to play with a little bit of the rotation we talked about. In the first 15, 20 minutes, seemed like we were pinned down. Again, this is all just based on reporting. We don't actually know, but we get the highlight moments. The first one, we see this goal, Sam, this beautiful bike. I think this is the Kevin Denkey special. Ender with a beautiful cross to him. There was apparently an offside that led to this not being allowed, but man, would have just been unreal. Even if it was preseason, another bicycle goal for Denkey, but he gets one back, a real one this time in the end of the first half. Seemed like maybe off of like a bad Houston pass, and Denkey pounces on it. His second goal of the preseason. So guys rearing, he's in, solid form, and happy to, be playing in orange and blue with everything that's going on externally. He's banging in goals. That's all that matters. So happy to see that.
No, and that's exactly what he said, during his, last match after the preseason match. He was like, I just want to be here. I want to get better. Right. Every single day we're building cohesion with, the attacking players, with the midfield, and, they're going to make me better and I'm going to make them better. So obviously they're making him better right, in a lot of ways. And he's continuing to put ones away. Right. And that's what we want to see as a number 9, right, is finishing those chances. And yeah, obviously he's off to a hot start.
Yeah, it's good to see. Now we need all the other players to start that as well, because, again, the scoring has been a little bit in a rarefied, quantity at this point. It seems like shades to the end of last year. Like we just couldn't find, in good positions, but yet alone scoring. Second half, Sam, totally, completely, different lineup here, different 11. Leroux, we had Jahar, Smith, Hagelin, Powell, Anunga, Bucha, Jimenez, Chirilla, Stefan Chirilla, Mambadem, and Dado. Honestly, like no clue how this would line up. Did you kind of see or envision maybe a 4-back in this one? It seemed like there was predominantly 4 big midfielders, with Jimenez, Bucha, Anunga, and then maybe Dado there. So I think maybe like a 4-4-2 diamond is how I would maybe say the second half lined up.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, obviously it could have been, I mean, even you could have even seen like Dotto and Stefan, up top, as maybe dueling nines, right? I don't know. You never really know, or Kenji up top, right, with Dotto underneath, but yeah, I think as far as the back line goes, 4-4-2 diamond, doesn't sound too shabby, especially like you said, since Anunga's in there with Bucha Jimenez. Yeah, you don't really know, especially during these preseasons. I'm sure, even sitting on the sidelines, you're probably like, not quite sure,
Right.
But yeah, obviously, I think we'll talk about it here in a little bit. But even from Pat's comments, the second half chances were few and far between, but we did have like a decent stretch. It sounds like, with Dotto and Pavel Bucha kind of having chances and looks on goal. Once again, the opposing keeper just really getting after it and making those saves. But yeah, unfortunately, I think I put out for us, right? I was following along and it was like, oh, halftime, like we got the lead 1-0 at half. Awesome. And then I was like, I wonder, like we played Dynamo last year. Like, I wonder what this looks like, from last season. And lo and behold, we were up 1-0, at one point in the game. And around the 85th minute last year, Houston Dynamo came back and tied it up, and it was a 1-1 draw. What do you know? The same thing happened this time, and gives up a goal in the 88th minute instead of the 85th minute. But unfortunately, if you listen to kind of the Roman Celentano's takes, it was a deflection in, not much you can do about that. But just very, very interesting that you saw kind of a copycat of last year.
I'm not going to say you jinxed us, but you kind of jinxed us. Like, I don't know how you can say that out loud, and then it happens. So that's okay. It happens. But yeah, deflection goal, like preseason match, it's like your backup 11. Like,
yeah.
I'm not sweating that too much. But I think Houston overall, Sam, will have a pretty solid squad with all the additions that they've made. In New England, the team we tied before, again, decent, but shouldn't be like world beaters. But again, both goals come against the second 11 people, not even our main starters. Some rotation guys in there, I guess, and if you look at kind of the back line and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Takeaways for me, I'll go, into mine. It seems like we're creating more, but still only able to produce a single goal. Like, that's a little concerning. The fact that, as we get into what Pat says too, like he wants to have the ball in better, more advanced positions, and we're still working on that as well. Like, are we really seeing progress? I know he says there's progress, but is there any talk about Evander? Like, let's just talk about that flat out. Like, in 2 matches, like hardly anything being said about Evander and what he's done on the pitch. How is his connection with Kevin Denkey? Is that improving? Are they seeing more, integration? I want to ask Pat, like, what is your plan to get Denkey in better positions, Evander in better positions, and to connect with the forwards? So it's just bizarre. Like, if this is going to be like our guy, our number 10, he's coming off of not a great postseason. Like, I want to hear something about Evander, and it's been a very quiet preseason for him internally. Externally, there's a lot of noise we'll get to. And then my last thing is we got to get Matt Miazga healthy, like as soon as possible, or if that means teenage. Like, I just don't want to run into Champions Cup in the early part of the season, with a hodgepodge defense like we did last year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the first with Evander, like, yeah, we haven't really heard much. But at the same time, like, he's our guy, right? And I don't know if it's just because maybe Pat's like, I trust what he's doing and he's doing a great job. I don't really need to talk about him because he's doing his job. Whereas like he was touching on more of like your, Andre Chirilla's, your Flores, your, kind of the midfield situation. It seemed like he was more talking about this time. And so I don't know. You never know. Right. But yeah, obviously you'd want to, hey, just checking in, seeing, is Evander doing well? How is he, feeling coming into this season? Does he want to win more trophies? Obviously we saw him talking a lot about Messi, right? So that's all we've kind of heard. But yeah, obviously we want the back line also being healthy. that's might be, the most important when it comes down to these multiple competitions, right? Is getting your back line healthy so that way you can prevent those goals. Really helps Roman Celentano there in the back. But my takeaways for this one, once again, like you said, like it seems like just another like developmental checkpoint, right? Like, oh, all right, like I think we're making progress. As far as the tactical cohesion and the squad depth, obviously you see a lot of rotating names, which I think is positive, right? Like I think I want to see this as far as like second team and first team, getting acquainted with one another, because I down the stretch, right? There weren't many like names that were called down the stretch, and it felt like the same names, right? So getting those players like more chances here in the preseason and getting, comfortable with one another, I think obviously it's a positive. And then, is the attacking creativity, right? Is that going to be an issue still? Like we saw it all last season. Is it still going to be an issue? Like you said, like obviously Denkey is hot and that's phenomenal, but that doesn't really show creativity. That just shows once again, like us being able to put a high press on somebody, overturn the ball, and then we score a goal, right? Rather than, hey, can you make something out of nothing with possession with the ball, right? So we'll see how that works out. Obviously, we'll get updates from Carter, on the next preseason match. But Ryan, as far as Pat Noonan and Roman Celentano, their post game kind of thoughts here. Roman once again kind of highlighted that slow start that you mentioned in the match, and wanting to learn how to build out from the back a bit more. Said he was very comfortable with the guys defending the box really well. It sounded like in that first 15-20 minutes of the game. But talk about kind of what Pat had to say going forward.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, progression seemed to overall be better just from the match, getting a solid 90 minutes in. The thing that was interesting to me is he flat out calls out, Gilberto Flores, and basically says that he came in the first week a little bit out of shape. And you're like, whoa, that's interesting to hear from your manager. But he wanted to see how he would fit on the right next to Miles, and communication, better with Ender. They speak the similar language, so that you felt like that maybe could be a little bit better. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like Gilberto, you have a golden opportunity, man, to go and grab some valuable minutes. So why are we showing up a little bit out of shape, buddy? But it seems like he's caught up now, and hopefully, rearing and ready for a better second season. Because, again, a U22 spot, we only have so many of them. We got to make them count. You see Giddy's going to have good minutes. Ender's going to have good minutes, but Flores, how does he make that next step? And I just want a player that's, hungry and ready, and not one that's, coming in a little out of shape. So I don't know if that's a straight call out or if he's just saying he's seeing an improvement in the player. So that was interesting. Also, we've been asking for, hey, is Obi and Giddy going to get a run out together? There's times where Bucha's been run to death and played so many minutes for us. Like, if you give the guy a breather, can he be that much more effective? So seeing Giddy in the middle, or even he had mentioned seeing all three together, that might be an option as well. So interesting with that. And then finally, getting the ball in the final third, like how do we improve that? It seems pretty obvious, but the ball progression, it still appears they're trying to figure that out. We're getting better play through wing backs. It seems like better, crosses and things like that. And then we're going to start preparing for some of these upcoming official matches that we have in the next few weeks. Nothing we've seen really so far is geared towards the guys we're going to play yet, it appears. But yeah, I'm excited just to see how that progresses, how, what he is saying actually comes to fruition. Don't you agree with that?
No, yeah, absolutely. And, we can only see, through social posts and through what Carter says. So
right.
We'll take it with a grain of salt as well, because we're not, seeing it with our own eyes. So yeah, the next preseason match for FC Cincinnati is going to be February 7th. They take on Detroit City FC. So USL squad, maybe a little bit of a confidence boost, and giving us a chance
to smack them.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like tactically, right? We can maybe try some new things, and hopefully we find some answers. So as far as roster news, Ryan. Some more things, right, to worry about during this preseason. We get this Evander news.
Do you want to call it smoke or no smoke? Let's just
Smoke
make
or
this
no smoke. Yeah, okay. This segment is smoke or no smoke.
It's called smoke or no smoke. So first one, Brazilian clubs are showing interest potentially in Evander. Our good friend from last week who made the same Kevin Denkey news, who may not be reliable, comes out and says that there's some big clubs down in Brazil, which I'm sure there are, that are interested in Evander. Reportedly from this article, this guy puts out his valuation in the maybe $20 to $25 million range. FC Cincinnati, no real pressure to sell, especially with him being under contract for a little bit. And then the hurdles that would potentially come with that, number one, that we bought we bought Evander for such a high price. We'd want to get, a large transfer fee, what those wages look like. Bigger picture for Brazil. They want to, kind of recoup some of their talent down there as well. And Brenner, I keep saying Brenner, Evander pushing maybe for a national team spot, at some point. I don't know if that's, something on his radar. But then from our angle, like beginning of the season here, like there's no way we're going to move a centerpiece for our team. So for me, no smoke. And what we get a little bit later, I'm going to say before I get your opinion on it, Sam, but Thiago Bradeo, a guy that announced actually, or helped to announce Evander to FCC last year, comes out and says, from what I have here is that the player has not received any inquiries from any Brazilian club in his transfer window, in the winter window, I guess, and continues as normal with Cincinnati for the season. So for me, no smoke. There's no way. I'm sure there's plenty of teams interested. I think this guy, that's reporting this is trying to stir up some stuff because we see a lot going on with Denis Bouanga right now too. But Sam, your opinion?
No, yeah, no smoke as well. Just something to kind of watch. Obviously, like it is interesting timing from an FC Cincinnati fan perspective because you get the comments last week from Brenner, right? Going like, hey, I talked to Evander and, he really would love to, be here and come back to Brazil and play for his, childhood club. So from a casual FC fan perspective, you look at it and go, man, like, now both of our guys are being poached, right? But ultimately, like Ryan said, there are sources that are counter attacking each other, right? Which one is kind of the truth? Like nobody really knows until it actually happens, right? So somebody can be interested in somebody else, and that's all that means. Why wouldn't you
think
be
about
interested in a player like Evander, right? Like
think about from our standpoint, like you have to have offers you can't refuse for these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Both are, north of $20 million, which I mean, Denis Bouanga is maybe going for 15 possibly, and Evander would be, north of 20 million. Like I think Denis Bouanga is, very similar level of Evander for capabilities, but do the Brazilian, teams look at a number 10 like Evander and say that's kind of, rare in a sense, are we willing to pay that? Or teams in Europe, like strikers have become a hot commodity. Are we willing to pay that top dollar for Denkey? So as we move to him, Tom Bogert comes out just before we record tonight and says, hey, there's interest that was there from Real Betis, a team in Spain, one that Cucho went to from the Columbus Crew last year. Talks did not progress. FC Cincinnati only were looking at bids north of 20 million for him, which kind of aligns with what we told you guys last episode. But Denkey's happy at FC Cincinnati is the biggest thing and not really pushing, for a move at this time. If there's one thing you take away from this episode, it is that right there, that Kevin Denkey wants to be here. At least for now, he's going to bang.
I was going to say at this time, who knows what happens this summer.
But I think that's, at least for the time being, their heads have to be in the right space.
Well, yeah. I think with the MLS and like how the schedule goes, right? These guys are in preseason, right? And I'm sure their agents are doing their jobs and trying to, figure out as far as what their future could look like. And they're doing their job.
Right.
The players, by all means, are head down, focused. The season is about to start in, less than 2 weeks. And I got to get my form ready to go. I'm not worried about, I want to move here, I want to move there. Like if you wanted that, you should have thought about that when the season ended, So yeah, it's nice to hear that, there's not really anything concrete for either one. So FCC fans can take a deep breath a little bit and go, okay, I don't think we're going to lose anybody before the start of the season. That's good news, right? Like Ryan said, nothing really to worry about there.
When have we ever had two players at the same time worth, potentially more than 20 million?
Yeah.
In the way that it looks on paper versus the, actual final product and how we can put it together, even more of a reason to say dang, these guys are worth that much. Go out and show it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for them, I think you just got to be gearing and ready to go. And this is all external smoke right now. So just go out and do your thing. But what's not external smoke, Sam, we'll call this not smoke because this is happening apparently. FC Cincinnati is to loan in a Polish goalkeeper by the name of Fabian Mrozek from, for those who aren't familiar, Liverpool. Massive club over in England. So a guy that, we've never heard of, though. From Liverpool, we say a huge club, but a guy we've never heard of. He was, a U21 keeper for them. He's, a great prospect, but a loan with an option to buy is what Tom Bogert reports. Formerly loaned last season to the Forest Green Rovers of the National League. If you all are listening and going, I've heard of the National League. That's where Wrexham was at one point. They are now in the third division or second division of English football. But it was interesting there. He had, I think a few clean sheets. He sat the bench a few times for Liverpool's main team. He mainly was on the U21 team for them. But nonetheless, it's odd, Sam. This player comes over. He's a Polish international. He's going to be occupying an international spot, and we only have so many of these.
No, yeah, obviously interesting move considering, the brand that is Liverpool and you're bringing in a goal. Usually if you do that, it's to be your starter, right? Not to be somebody that could potentially just be playing for FC Cincinnati too. So yeah, obviously very interesting. I wonder if the player was just like, you know what, I want to go to America. I don't care where it is. I want to go play in America. You never know, but yeah, I think, obviously, this adds another goalkeeper into the goalkeeper room, which is nice. Considering we saw Paul Walters leave and go on loan himself. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much, if any, playing time this guy will get. But Ryan, I mean, any other moves that could possibly come up before either CONCACAF or the MLS? What are you thinking?
I mean, I would ideally love, another striker. I would ideally love another center back. I don't think the club really wants to limit themselves in terms of roster spots. Maybe with, the money we have, we kind of want to see, where maybe the summer leads us and where we're at then. So, the window's open through March. We have some time to answer your question directly. I personally don't think it, but this is when Chris Albright surprises us and he makes this, million or $2 million loan for, English Premier League backup or something. So I would love that. I can't say that it's going to happen. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think we'll get much of any, at least before the CONCACAF Champions Cup starts. I know it's only a couple of days in between that and the MLS starting, but I think there could be, some potential things that are worked out to where a player joins, right before MLS season starts. But feel like Champions Cup, I know we'll talk about it here in a little bit. It's literally this week. So, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, I don't think anything soon. Maybe a free agent here or there could possibly come our way in the coming months.
It's always keeping us on our toes, which is fun. But we're not completely closed off for roster spots. And I'm sure they have some creativity to offload things, if we need to as well. But, again, the season's 16 days away. You're going to bring in an impact guy. At this point, that's going to be less likely. So stay tuned. Our next episode, as we get closer to the season, we're going to do a positional breakdown for FC Cincinnati. We're going to cover our forwards, our midfielders, our defenders. We're going to do kind of person by person where we think these guys are going to contribute, and maybe some projections for, goals, assists, minutes, and things like that. But let's go to a break here, and we'll be right back and talk a little bit more about some other FC Cincinnati news. Hey everyone, the Flying Lion podcast is your home for FC Cincinnati coverage as a part of the Chatterbox Sports family. We're proud to be a part of a growing network of creators who are building real connections with fans across the region as the game continues to grow and in preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup hosted in America.
Yeah, and if you're a local business or a brand looking to reach an audience that's passionate, loyal, and plugged into the city's sports scene, this is the place.
Partnering with us is not just supporting a podcast. You're joining a community that celebrates FC Cincinnati and various other Cincinnati sports teams as well. So reach out through our email, which is Flying Lion Pod, FLYIN Lion Pod @gmail.com, or direct message us on social media to learn more about sponsorship and partnering options. Thanks again. Thanks again for joining us tonight. We're going to touch on some big FC Cincinnati news that came out in the past week. FC Cincinnati is partnering with a Portuguese club, that is massive, even like globally. FC Porto, Sam, for those who've played, FIFA, maybe you've heard of them. They're big in the Champions League right now as well. But the two clubs are going to collaborate across the sporting and business areas, including talent development, scouting, data, and commercial growth. Porto is also looking to create their first US-based academy at some point in America. So maybe Cincinnati could be that hub. That'd be pretty cool. But what new players could come from this opportunity? I think that's what a lot of fans are asking, about. We had one, partnership with Hoffenheim of the Bundesliga at one point. We've had, another, I believe, with another team in Africa. So what are we actually going to see from this? What actually comes to fruition? We are yet to be obviously seen by that, but there's a couple of player possibilities that we'd like to just kind of shout out. Sam, first off, what's your thoughts on this? And then maybe if you want to list a player or two.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the deal with Hoffenheim, I think we got like one player from it, ultimately one or two, and it didn't really result into much. So we'll see if, adding a bigger club and partnering with a bigger club in FC Porto will either do us or do them some good. If we can, loan them out somebody or, transfer, however that works. But yeah, I think obviously anytime your team is attached to like a big name, not only in Europe, but, across the world, it's going to be, the eyeballs are going to be on you. So that's nice. But as far as some possible players, that we're talking about here, I think one had already been rumored today. If you hadn't seen, there was a Canadian international midfielder, Stefan Estiquo, I think, had been rumored. He's a midfielder / center back, kind of in talks with a few MLS teams. But as of right now, he is reportedly going to be signing with LAFC, apparently. So we'll see how that works out for them. And then Dominic Pripik, I think, 21-year-old center back. It looks like could be an option. Ryan put down here only 11 appearances for Porto this year, so might need some playing time. And Ryan, he's got a connection with Bucha there.
I don't know that, but just knowing that, he's from Croatia, like maybe there's something there with that. That was kind of more of a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, I think maybe that would be a cool opportunity to, bring another guy that he could relate with. I've been always looking for like a clone of Bucha to bring into the squad.
No, I know. And that seems like it'd be the one, to help him out, right? Like we need to help for Bucha. Why not somebody from his own country, right? But another, player just to name, right? No, like any background or anything, just speculation from us. Deniz Gul, he's a forward. He's 21 years old, 14 appearances this year, 12 goals, and he actually has 7 appearances in the Europa League as well. So has some experience on that. And then, I thought of him just because, we've had success a little bit as far as for loan-in strikers that have worked well, Kevin Kelsey, obviously bringing Brenner back, helped a lot. So this could be, just another option. A guy who could, especially now via the partnership, come in, get some good experience, and probably not have like as high as a fee as maybe, if we were to bring back like a Sergio Santos, right, or somebody like that. So.
Yeah, good shout. I think, again, this creates, doors for possible, partnerships. Let's see if it actually comes to fruition. But it's great for a global exposure. I think a lot of people see it around the country and they're like, man, FC Cincinnati, partnering with Porto, that's pretty cool. Again, what does that mean though? What does that kind of show you and for the future? So we'll see, maybe what comes out of that. But as we move along, FC Cincinnati was named the 5th most likely MLS club to win the Champions Cup. Interesting that, people are listing us that high, I think, as well. There's been some thoughts around the community about what people think. You can, Sam, kind of walk us through what was said in this article and what was, said from everyone else too.
Yeah, as far as what was talked about in the article, they were pretty much just saying, what we can build off of from last year as far as the pieces of Evander and Kevin Denkey, but needing to get over the hump in tournaments, right? And that's exactly why we were put at 5th, because the potential's there, but we don't really quite have the history in the tournaments that we wish we should. So a lot of thoughts and comments from the FC Cincinnati community, saying hey, too low, to be honest, which is interesting. And then somebody saying, hey, so you're telling me there's a chance, and then you get probably losing in the second round, and then somebody put a full breakdown of their thoughts as far as the top 5. They said Vancouver would be 5th, Cincinnati 4th, Evander 3rd, or Seattle 3rd, LAFC 2nd, and then Miami 1st. So yeah, we'll see if we're able to put it together. But once again, just another intriguing thing that you see of like, okay, what do other people from around the league think, of FC Cincinnati?
Yeah, you get all these, like, I love like the power rankings as well. Like those are always my favorite. It's like I don't know how they make these determinations. And then you get kind of this ranking as well, which is interesting. It was fascinating last year that Vancouver made it to the final of Champions Cup. So that was quite the surprise, but we'll see, where that goes this year. But Sam, we did get some news about a kit launch. It is set for February 10th. Season ticket holders got emailed this past Friday about a chance to go to the event. There's a limited amount that we're able to actually go, but we'll be in attendance. So we're looking forward to that, and look out for some content that we might roll out with this as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Obviously, like you said, it was kind of like a surprise for a lot of people, especially even like season ticket holders. So you would have had to have like notifications turned on your email for you to actually like get this, because they were being sold out within minutes. So it was kind of crazy to see that and hear that from a lot of people in the FC Cincinnati community. Can't wait to see what the kit looks like. I know there's been speculation out there as far as, is it orange? Is it white? There's been speculation as far as like, is it white with a little bit of orange? So who knows? We'll see how that looks, going forward. But in other news, we've got FC Cincinnati 2. Mateus Vasquez was finally announced, that signing. We had kind of been watching that for a while, as far as like the speculation of it. And I mean, this kid seems like he's a big deal coming out of Honduras. Once again, coming out of Motagua. So logged heavy minutes last year, hit double-digit goals in the league play, and then has, youth international experience from, in Honduras level. So we'll see how this kid fares in FCC2. As Ryan rejoins us,
Sorry about
technical difficulties throughout this episode. So sorry for those of you who are watching live. For those of you who are listening later, nothing happened. There are no technical difficulties, but just talking FCC2 right now, Ryan, with the Mateus Vasquez being officially announced.
The infamous Matias Vasquez. Yeah, he's finally announced by the club as a second team player. You know, everyone's following him around in Honduras. But yeah, we'll see again what these guys can do. He's, you know, a new face, you know, for them that we've seen several now, Sam. Seems like there's only a few remaining guys from last year. And I do think that at some point Andre Shirilla might get a first team call up, so he'll have even less minutes on the second team as well.
Yeah, we'll see. I think this makes it maybe 11 official players, maybe 10, it might be 10 or 11 official players. So obviously they're going to need some more, but they have a little bit more time than the first team does to get their roster kind of settled. But Ryan, you want to kind of walk down some former players? We got some updates for, I mean, a lot of recent players got some updates on them.
Yeah, sorry again about all the technical difficulties tonight. It's been rough on the Wi-Fi. But yeah, Brenner was finally announced at Vasco da Gama down in Brazil. He admitted, like we had kind of teased earlier at his presser, that Evander is crazy to return to Vasco, his boyhood club, at some point as well. So you're like, on one hand, like already upset that Brenner's leaving, and then you watch this and you see what he says, and you're like, dang, now I'm really feeling bad. You know, I know him and Evander were boys, but like, don't tell me that. I don't want to hear that. But I mean, who wouldn't want to go back to their boyhood club? I'm sure he'd be crazy to go back at some point. Maybe it's when he's 40 and not when, you know, he's in the prime of his career. But yeah, man, I'm excited for Brenner. Hopefully he bangs in a lot of goals down there.
Did you see today he got his first start, his debut start?
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe our friend Kenji put it out, or Kenta. Sorry.
Kenta.
Yeah, Kenta put it out and said, you know, hey, Brenner's out there starting on it, you know, for his debut. So I don't know how he did, but we'll see. Somebody else who's killing it down in Brazil, Lucho. Lucho has been doing pretty well with Fluminense.
Yeah, he had a game-winning volley over the weekend, their first, you know, league match, you know, of their young season. And he had a game-winning assist yesterday as well. A really nice pass, like on a one-touch through ball to John Kennedy, like the best player name ever. But yeah, I mean, Lucha's doing well. You kind of hate to see it, but at the same time, like as time goes along, you know, I'm again just happy for the player, and maybe he's, you know, ultimately happy down there and closer to family too. Let's not get too sentimental, but Alvaro Barrial, he scores his second of 2026 for Santos in a 2-4 loss over the weekend. A really nice goal if you guys go and check it out. You know, vintage Barrial puts it in the side netting with the left foot, kind of curls it around the keeper. That guy seems to be like holding Santos together right now. Like Neymar's out,
yeah,
but yeah, Barrial is like killing it down there. There's some shouts I was reading online that he could become captain within the next season too. So that's kind of wild to hear as well. And then Sam, finally, I was watching this one live, but Luca Orishano, man, like, where was your 2024 form last season, dude? Like, so he goes and plays his first game for Monterrey, his debut, and he has a golazo, just absolutely beautiful left-footed strike around the keeper. He was playing in a more natural winger spot. Like, I don't know why we couldn't get this guy in that spot. He cuts in on his left and scores, but I kind of put this as a preface. He previously missed a one-on-one with the keeper and then had conceded a PK in the box, you know, minutes before he scores too. So kind of a back and forth appearance for Luca Orishano. But Sam, I mean, we're happy for the guy. You know, he's doing a lot better this season already, but where was this, man?
No, I know. Yeah, obviously, like the Barrial goal was really good, and then, like you said, Luca Orishano, very similar, right? That left foot curling in. Feels like on that goal, the keeper like could have saved it. It wasn't like too far in the corner. But yeah, obviously that was the reaction from a lot of fans was, hey, where the heck was this? And he showed flashes. He did. He showed flashes last year, just never really made it consistent, and that was something that was lacking, and why he wanted to make a move. So we wish all four of those guys you know the best going forward. You know, obviously given their time with the orange and blue, it was nice, very, very cool to see them in action, for the past week. But Ryan, some other MLS league news as we get down to the kind of final talks and talking points of the episode here. Like you had talked about earlier, Denny Buanga with LAFC. Is he possibly leaving to go down to Brazil? We just named all four of those guys are down in Brazil, or besides Luca Orshano. Sorry, he's in Mexico. But those three guys, right, are in Brazil, and Denny Buanga could possibly be leaving LAFC for 15 mil, but not sure. LAFC just got Son, so I mean, we'll see what happens with that. I know Tom Bogert was putting out a lot of stuff on whether or not it was going to be happening. It seemed like the player wanted to go, and we'll kind of see what happens with that. But another one could be Obed Vargas, young player for Seattle, going to Atletico Madrid, which is kind of crazy. Competing for minutes over there. I don't know. We'll see. Ryan, any thoughts real quick? I just said, stuff about Obed Vargas, but as you rejoin again, anything on Denny Buanga that you hadn't previously talked about, and then we'll talk about Vargas.
Yeah, so with Denny, I don't know if you had said this or not, because again, I'm sorry about the connection tonight, but Lucho had vouched, saying that Buanga was a top player. He was an all-star with Denny before, so yeah, that was interesting. And then with Obed Vargas, interesting that he might be competing with Johnny Cardoso, a U.S. guy going over there. But cool opportunity for him going over to Spain. So we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think all of it could be interesting. Obviously, in other news, right, we've got the CONCACAF Champions Cup starting tomorrow night, which is just insane that it is already here. We've got San Diego versus Pumas. Ryan, why so early on this? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, San Diego plays tomorrow, Vancouver Wednesday. Like, where are the other teams around the same time? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I feel bad for, like, Vancouver was just in the final in December. Like, their turnaround is insane.
Yeah.
And
they're one of the first teams to play. It's like, what the heck? Like,
that's crazy. Well, and Sam, I think wasn't Vancouver's preseason like over in Europe or something as well?
Yeah, they had a couple games because Mueller was hooking up with the boxer or the UFC player.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they had a couple games.
Which is, again, just absolutely crazy that, again, they're playing in meaningful competition. Like, this is a real tournament. They made it to the final last year. It'll be interesting. I'm really intrigued for San Diego Pumas. That'll be a really good matchup for them. The whole storyline with Chucky Lozano, like, is he staying? Is he going? Like, what's going on with that? They play at 11 p.m. So, if you want to stay up for that one, probably don't.
Good luck.
And then Vancouver, I think, is another late one as well. So this is, again, the buildup for, the season to start, but real competition starts, as soon as tomorrow. So if you're really itching to go and watch some soccer, go check it out on Fox Sports or Fox Soccer. I think they're going to be having that. But we're ready. Apparently my Wi-Fi is not ready for the season, but we're getting pumped and ready to go. There's, again, been weekly, news that has been coming out and keeping us on our toes. So we'll roll that out. Maybe we'll have some, new announcements and whatnot in the next week. And then, yeah, go ahead, Sam.
No, yeah, I was going to say, at least from our end, we'll have two guests probably on before the end or the beginning of the season, which would be the Champions Cup for us. Probably have on, if you didn't see, go check it out real quick. Fabian Renkel, he's been putting out a lot of stuff, covers MLS, but also a little bit of Inter Miami as well, is kind of where he dips his toes, which everybody in the MLS pretty much talks about Messi and Inter Miami over there. But we'll have him on Monday, so you'll get a little taste of him and his thoughts. Not only FC Cincinnati but also just MLS in general. And then I think we'll probably have Carter on to talk more preseason stuff before we get going and we give you our full preview, Ryan. I mean, we're psyched. We're ready to give you kind of our, obviously, if you've been listening weekly, you get our thoughts all the time, but full thoughts, full roster, breakdown, everything. I'm really excited to have soccer back just, a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. I'm pumped that the season is finally here. Doing the preview shows we had, the Designated Players podcast is going to put theirs out here shortly, the one that I went on, so go check that out again. I think it'll be coming out sometime this week. And then we would love to hear from you guys. Where do you think that FC Cincinnati is right now as we get to our prediction show? We'd love to hear where you guys think that everyone stands, in the league, or even FC Cincinnati. How do we stack up in the East versus, the West? Or even just MLS in general. Are we going to win a trophy this year? All of that stuff. We want to hear it from you. Thanks again for putting up with my Wi-Fi tonight. It'll be better next time. I promise you that. It's in preseason form. It's not in regular season form. But thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.